We're just 3 days away from the first Eagles preseason game of 2022. On Sunday night, however, players got a little taste of what to expect on Friday. Lincoln Financial Field welcomed nearly 30,000 fans to the Eagles' public practice. Back to the grind at the NovaCare complex today, and it's a hot one. The Birds preparing for the New York Jets to come to town. Welcome to Inside Training Camp, presented by Independence Blue Cross. I'm Ella DiGiovanni, and I'll soon be joined by your Eagles insider, Dave Spadaro, and Fran Duffy. Well, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Sunday at Lincoln Financial Field was surely a night to remember. Eagles fans got their first look at the 2022 team while also supporting the Eagles Autism Foundation. That's right, all tickets purchased for public practice directly benefited EAF. The grand total, $350,000. It should come as no surprise that new Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown received a huge reaction from fans as he took the field. Look what Brown put out on Twitter after practice. Philly, are you serious? That was practice? 30,000 plus here at practice? Nah, I love it here already. Today was fun, only the beginning. And with that, I welcome in Eagles insider Dave Spadaro, who joins me from the practice field. Dave, you were there on the sidelines on Sunday night. What was the energy like?
Yeah, Ella, it was really special. The first time that fans had a chance to see the 2022 Philadelphia Eagles. And from the time the players came out, and guys like Hassan Reddick and A.J. Brown and James Bradbury and Jordan Davis, etc., were introduced to the crowd for the first time, they felt the love from the fans, and they certainly turned in a good show. It was a really competitive practice. It was a fun practice. It didn't hurt at all that A.J. Brown was dominant, and I think people went away feeling really good about this football team, and the fans really loved the opportunity to get a little sneak peek at what the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be all about, and the players appreciated, as A.J. said, almost 30,000 fans coming out on a scalding summer night on Sunday to watch practice. It was really a special time, and everybody really loved it. Great way to kick off the preseason.
Absolutely. The fans got their first look at Jalen Hurts in year 2 as a starter. What have you seen from the quarterback through camp so far?
Yeah, well, it's really important that everybody understands that for the first time since his high school days, Jalen has the same offensive coordinator, the same play caller, a familiarity with the offensive scheme. So what you see from him is somebody who gets back, sets up quickly, understands where he's going to go with the football, faster, gets it out quicker, more confident, he's been more accurate. There certainly has not been perfect here. We all know that the defense is generally ahead of the offense at this stage in the training camp period. But for sure, we saw on Sunday the big play connection between Hurts and Brown, the way that that Jalen has created that chemistry and continued it from last year with Dallas Goedert. They didn't have Devontae Smith on the field, but I think everybody has understood, talking to the coaches, and really Jalen has come a long, long way. He's a better quarterback now than he was at the end of the 2021 season, and that's what the Eagles are looking for, that steady growth, that progress made day by day.
Preseason opener on Friday, Dave. What position groups are you looking at that present the most competition?
Yeah, I think it's really been interesting to watch, Ella. Obviously, always I start at the offensive and defensive lines because the Eagles have put so much of their draft capital, and they've gone out in free agency, and they've always addressed the trenches. And so you see a great amount of depth, and when they go one-on-one, the competition's outstanding. I'm going to tell you, I think the wide receiver group at the top with AJ and Devontae, with Devontae and AJ, the best twosome since, really, I kind of got to go back to Harold and Mike Quick, even though Harold was kind of at the end of his career and Mike was starting his career. I honestly can't remember a twosome at this particular time, at the time that they're on the field, as good as those two. And then you bring in Quez Watkins, who's the fastest player on the team. Sorry, Devin Allen, but in pads, I think Quez Watkins is faster. Really, all the way through, Zach Pascal's going to make a really great number 4. Jalen Reagor has shown up in this camp. We know Greg Ward can play at this level. Deon Cain made a ton of plays on Sunday night. Britton Covey is a player the Eagles brought in after the draft in the spring. So all the way down the line, there's really a good group at wide receiver. And then the other position I really look at, Ella, is the cornerback position, the secondary. Eagles brought in all those young players last year, Kerry Vincent Jr. and Mac McCain, Andre Sachere, to develop them, and what we're seeing right now is some really good competition at those positions. So Friday night when the preseason begins, it's going to be really fun to watch young players competing for roster spots.
Well, that was your Eagles insider, Dave Spadaro. He'll rejoin us a little bit later, but I'm going to head across the practice field and welcome in Fran Duffy. Fran, Dave and I were just talking about position groups that present a lot of competition. Now as we get into these preseason games, all this training camp work, it's going to get real the next couple of weeks. What position groups are you looking at?
Well, for me, Ella, to me, it's a position that you don't want to forget about, and that's the linebacker position, one that's near and dear to Eagles fans' hearts. And it's just a really interesting combination of players. Obviously, you have the entrenched guy in TJ Edwards, who has had a really good camp. He's been around the football every single day, both in the run game and in the pass game. He gets his hands on the football every single day here at practice. Then you get a free agent addition in Kaiser White, coming over from the LA Chargers. They played a scheme that was very similar to this Eagles system last year under head coach Brandon Staley, so he brings some veteran savvy to this group. Then you have the rookie, the third-round pick, Nakobe Dean. He was a first-round quality talent that fell to round 3. The Eagles get a steal there. This is a guy that's been in and out of the first-team unit over the course of the last few days. So the Eagles trying to mix him in, work in different combinations. That's something that defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon spoke about this morning before practice, is trying to work in those different combinations. But it doesn't stop with those 3, right? Because you have Davion Taylor, a former third-round pick. We know the athleticism. Injuries have kind of hampered him early on in his career. What can he do in year 2 of this scheme? Jacoby Stevens, a converted safety at LSU, who now comes in year 2. What does he look like? He's made plays throughout camp. You have Sean Bradley, who was the 5th linebacker last year, one of the best special teams players in the NFL as a kickoff coverage guy. It's a really interesting group. Guys have been making plays up and down the field. Don't forget about this group as we head into preseason action.
Fran, you and I watched public practice together on Sunday night. You put some fans in Lincoln Financial Field. You feel the energy. What players really shine bright on Sunday night?
Well, Dave alluded to it earlier, and that's wide receiver A.J. Brown. He was just outstanding on Sunday night, and obviously it was highlighted by that huge catch that he made, a diving catch in the front pylon. It was right in front of you and I, Ella, and the crowd just erupted after that catch. So I think that kind of speaks to, number one, the talent that the Eagles get in A.J. Brown. They traded a first-round pick for him. They gave him a $100 million contract the day he arrived here in Philadelphia. But then the juice he brings to this offense, the excitement, the toughness, the swagger, the edge that he brings to this passing game and to this run game. I can't wait to see A.J. Brown. And if Sunday night was a little bit of a taste, I'm excited for the main course once we get to September.
Look, I'm a Philly girl, so none of this surprises me to have 30,000 fans come out for a training camp practice. But to actually see it up close in real life, feel the energy, hear the Eagles chants, sit in traffic outside the stadium, it gets these players super excited for what's to come in the next month or so. Well, we're going to welcome Dave Spadaro back into the discussion. Dave, you and I started talking about the wide receivers, and Fran just made mention of A.J. Brown and his big-time play he made in front of the fans on Sunday night. We're going to dive a little deeper into this wide receiver room as a whole. Devontae Smith battling a little bit of a groin injury. He was out last week in practice, but how has his connection along with Quez Watkins and A.J. Brown really developed with Jalen Hurts over these past few weeks?
Yeah, good question, Ella. By the way, I think Devontae, I believe he's out here. I'll confirm that in just a bit here. Yeah, look, I think that, again, going back to talented combinations, when you bring in somebody like A.J. Brown, he's just a game changer in a lot of ways. He changes the way the defenses are going to scheme against the Eagles' passing game. He presents an incredibly difficult matchup, personnel-wise, challenge for defenses. He plays off of the strengths of Devontae Smith. And so, he becomes the dominant pass catcher on a team that already has a dominant pass catcher. So I really I can't wait to see what they do. I will also tell you again, I will go back to Quez Watkins. Quez Watkins is the guy nobody talks about. I just think the 3 of them, and when you go the strength and power of A.J. Brown and the silky smooth quickness, downfield abilities of Devontae Smith, and then the game-breaking and big play skills that Quez Watkins brings to the table. Again, 15 yards per reception last year. That's a really interesting threesome. They can do a lot of different things with that group. And then I bring in Zach Pascal, who we haven't seen a lot of him. He had the food poisoning incident, 16 pounds he lost. For Eagles fans who have been around long enough to know Jason Avant, he's kind of a name that I would invoke here. A player who's really physical, who's going to make some clutch catches for you, who's not going to be afraid to mix it up, who's going to play special teams, who's going to help you in a lot of ways. So intriguing foursome. I don't know who the fifth will be. I don't know if the Eagles will keep 6, but A.J. Brown changes everything with the wide receivers, and he has, obviously with that megawatt smile, and he's got the great personality. He's obviously felt comfortable from the start. Eagles fans have really, really welcomed him, and that means a lot to him. And we've seen him on the field as a dominant player, and Sunday night was a great example of that.
We get so excited about the possibilities from a pass game standpoint, about the different matchups and the different problems this receiving corps can cause defenses, but we also know how big and how important this run game was for this offense last year. And when I see the addition of A.J. Brown, the addition of Zach Pascal, 2 guys that really, obviously, they know what they're known for, what they do as pass catchers, but as run blockers, both guys are so strong at the point of attack. We got a little bit of a taste of that on Sunday night. I remember a bubble screen out in the direction of those 2 guys from Miles Sanders, and both guys sealed off the corner on that edge. So when I look at Zach Pascal and A.J. Brown, you put both those guys on one side of the field, that's almost like having tight ends over there. And so having that kind of matchup in the run game will be really advantageous for this offense as well.
Well, quarterback Darius.
Fran, I think that's a great point. I do. Sorry for interrupting. I think it's a great point that you make. It is not just about catching passes, and the Eagles certainly do value and require that wide receivers block. And Devontae Smith is a willing blocker as well. He's just not as physically imposing as Zach or as AJ, etc. But it's a very important point to make, that the personnel combinations the Eagles can use, that they can trot out there, whether it's a run or pass, and you're obviously going to be studying your tendencies and making sure that Zach Pascal's not on the field every time they run the football. It does present a lot of different options, and it improves the run game for the Philadelphia Eagles. And obviously, this football team that led the league in running the football last year very much wants to incorporate that in 2022 as well.
Cornerback Darius Slay spoke to the media on Sunday ahead of that public practice, and he talked about how this wide receiver group has made him better. Let's hear what he had to say.
Yeah, all the guys here honestly forced me to get better in a different type of way. I use everyone. Like, for instance, with Quez, if I go against Quez Watkins, it's focused on my quickness, my speed down the field. With AJ, bigger body, a guy that like to get into my in my comfort zone and try to create contact to get separation. So, and Smitty is a guy that's just a smooth route runner. So I got all different type of aspects of the game from all our receiver corps, because they are so gifted in that room that I kind of get everything I wanted to get out of with playing against another team or another guy that I'm going against, because all of them are special in their own ways. So, like I said, the receiver corps are doing a great job, man, and continue to keep helping me get better. So it's not really just a specific thing about a guy or nothing. They just all got their special abilities that help me reach my potential.
As Darius Slay, a Pro Bowler, a handful of years, several years in the National Football League, you think he's seen it all. So when you have a guy like that talking so highly of this wide receiver group, you know they got something special going on the offense. But speaking of the offense, Dave, you mentioned how this strong wide receiver group opens things up for the run game. The running backs, Boston Scott suffered a concussion late last week in practice. But what have you seen from this group as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to reserve just a little bit on the running backs because there has not been live periods. I really think it is important that we all keep that in mind. Remembering back to the days of Lorenzo Booker, who looked so good in the spring drills, and then when the contact started, and then didn't distinguish himself. But look, it's really talented group. I saw on Sunday night a lot of Jason Huntley and the speed that he has. I think they really want to see Kennedy Brooks in a role in the preseason. I'm sure we'll see him quite a bit. We know that Miles Sanders is an explosive running back, 5 yards a carry in his career. I think they've seen the big jump that they hoped to see from Kenneth Gainwell in year 2. I see him as a really interesting, versatile piece in this offense. They're going to move him around quite a bit, I'm sure. He's an outstanding pass catcher, and he runs hard between the tackles. Boston Scott, we know from watching him these last few years here, what he can do. What you don't have in the running back group is that big kind of hammer, and maybe the Eagles feel like they don't need to have that big hammer, that they want to give Kennedy Brooks a chance to run and see how heavy he can run. But right now, it's a group that's taking a ton of reps. Again, we know that if Miles Sanders can stay healthy, that he is a big-time, playmaking, versatile running back. And Fran, I mean, you tell me, I think that what we saw last year is what we're going to see again this year. a committee approach, keep everybody fresh. 17 games is a very, very long regular season. So, I think at least at the very top with Sanders, as it stands now, Sanders, Gainwell, Scott, all three should be involved and get a lot of touches.
Yeah, we know that all three of those guys can impact the game in some similar ways, but they also have some differentiating factors as well. And Miles has that ability to be a big play back, screen game, the draws, and all those outside perimeter plays. Kenny Gainwell showed a real nose for the end zone last year. We know what he can do as a pass catcher, and Boston Scott, the opportunity has been really. So it's going to be a really interesting trio. Well, like you said, Dave, we'll see if there is another addition. Hey, those three backs have shown that they can be productive in this offense.
You mentioned those three backs. They're three very willing backs. Boston Scott last week said in today's NFL, as a running back, you got to be able to do it all. So, Dave, when you speak about the ability to be pass catchers, I think we've seen that from all three of these backs as well, and it'll be interesting to see how they start to incorporate these three backs both on the ground and in that passing game. But we talk about the passing game. We're going to stick with the offense and talk about the tight end room. Dallas Goedert and Jalen Hurts spent extensive time in this offseason working together. Dave, what have you seen from their chemistry as they've developed over the past few weeks?
Yeah, certainly Jalen and Dallas are on the same page, and I think Dallas settles in very comfortably. We saw it last year as the tight end one with Zach Ertz being traded. Dallas Goedert is as talented as anybody in the league. He is big, strong, physical, great with the football after the catch, good blocker. You can move him around the formation. He creates matchup nightmares for defenses. So he's a complete package. You hope that Jack Stoll is ready to take that next step. I think he is. He looks like he's much more comfortable in the offense as a pass catcher this year. Outstanding in the run game. So who's the third tight end? Richard Rodgers is now on the football field. We know that he's a reliable veteran. He's a consideration. Grant Calcaterra still sidelined with that hamstring injury. How long is he going to be out? Can you get him back? So, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside had a nice diving catch on Sunday night in the public practice. We'll see him in the preseason. So there's some options here, and I think the Eagles are excited about what they've got at tight end. I feel like they are always ready at the position, even in emergency situations. They're just never, they're never caught shorthanded along the offensive line. They're never caught shorthanded at tight end. I think the Eagles are in really fine shape with Dallas and with what they've got with Jack Stoll, what they've seen with Jack Stoll. Nobody talks about Jack Stoll, Fran. I know you liked him last year coming into the draft. He made this 53-man roster, and he was a contributor on special teams, and he was a contributor at the line of scrimmage as well.
No question. Jack Stoll did a lot of different things for this offense, both run game and pass game. And we can't forget, too, about Tyree Jackson, who is coming off that injury from last year. He was one of the darlings of camp a year ago, made plays every single day, making the conversion from quarterback to tight end. Still on the sideline right now, but when he gets back, how does he factor in to this tight end picture? So it's a really interesting group, Dave. I'm really glad that we're kind of focusing in on them. We just got a chance to watch them go through a little bit of a ball security circuit just in front of us a little bit ago. You just see the athleticism and the versatility of this group. So it's a really fun position and something we should see a bunch of these guys play as the preseason games start on Friday.
Dallas Goedert had a lot to say about Jack Stoll earlier in the week. Here's what he had to say about the young tight end.
Yeah, Jack's been great. He's taken the next step that you usually do from year one to year two. He worked hard this offseason. His routes look a lot more crisp. And then just the football knowledge, going from year one, you're kind of always swimming the whole time to year two. You got an understanding for the offense. You kind of know the calls before the calls are made. And he's done a great job with that, just kind of knowing his job, his assignment, how to do it. And he's been doing it really well.
Now, as we transition to the offensive line, last week we learned Jordan Mailata and Andre Dillard both suffered concussions. And as we await an update on when they will both make a full return, what kind of opportunity, Fran, did this open up for other players looking for valuable camp reps? We're having some technical difficulties with our cameras out on the practice field.
Yep.
Right now on the live stream, we're looking at Jack Stoll and Dallas Goedert with some, I think we have Dave Spadaro back. Dave, do you got me?
I've got you, Ella.
All right.
I'm here watching the offensive line. You were talking about the O-line, and I'm here watching Jeff Stoutland run them through their paces. I've always equated it to kind of a choreographed dance. It's like this repetitive motion day after day after day. And he puts so much energy into it, so much passion into it, make sure that everything is precise every single day. And what happens here really manifests itself when you get into the regular season. Because it doesn't really matter, I mean, obviously it does, but who's playing, whether it's a starter or a reserve, he gets everybody ready. And he just comes up with every different combination he can think of, every scenario that he can work through his mind to get ready in case of any situation that might occur during the course of the regular season. It's impressive to watch. I'm sure for the players, look, they know that Stout has their best interests in mind, and time after time after time, we see him take players who aren't necessarily heralded, and he makes them into really good football players, and then he brings out the best in everyone. And so I just enjoy watching them go against each other, go in the one-on-ones with the D-line. It's really my most interesting part of these practices. I enjoy watching in the trenches when you can kind of expose the trenches and really focus in on what they're doing.
You mentioned Jeff Stoutland always getting these players ready to go. When we talk about Jordan Mailata and Andre Dillard being out with concussions, we're waiting to hear more about when they'll make their return. This is when Jeff Stoutland does what he does best, right? He gets these players, the next man up, ready to play some football. Who have been some of these younger guys on the offensive line who perhaps have taken advantage of the opportunity to step in during camp, gain some valuable camp reps in the absence of Mailata and Dillard?
You know, somebody who last year was an interesting move. The Eagles, last year, they bring in LaRaven Clark, who had been a draft pick by the Colts, was injured. Eagles bring him in, and then they signed him to a contract during the course of the season. That's somebody that I say, oh, now, okay, he's got some things to work out, no doubt. But he's someone who gets a lot of reps and has a chance to work on his game a lot. You know, Cam Jurgens takes a lot of reps, certainly, and has been extremely impressive. Let's see, in terms of, you know, Jack Driscoll, where does Jack Driscoll fit in? Sua Opeta, interior lineman, where does he fit in? Let's not forget, and in light of what you see around the league, with the New York Jets, one of their very prized players, one of their tackles, Becton, injured and out for a long period of time. The Eagles have Andre Dillard here. I mean, how blessed are the Eagles to have that kind of depth along the offensive line? A first-round draft pick who, when he has played in the regular season, has played very, very well. So it just, the list kind of goes on and on. Those players get tons of reps in practice, and they'll get a lot of reps in the regular preseason games here, and you'll see them get better and better and better.
And as we've seen the way that the past few seasons have gone in Philadelphia, the Philadelphia Eagles have needed these younger players to step up. Even last season, Jordan Mailata missed a few games. Lane Johnson missed a few games. Brandon Brooks was injured. Isaac Seumalo was injured. So these reps are valuable. The time they'll spend in these preseason games are valuable. And as we know, Jeff Stoutland will always have them ready to go and step up. Now we're looking at Isaac Seumalo here. There's been a lot of buzz from players around Seumalo and his impact on the offensive line room. Let's hear what right tackle Lane Johnson had to say on Sunday.
Really nothing surprised me about Isaac. I've seen him for the past, 6-7 years. He's one of the more talented guys that's probably ever been here, as far as the guy that's played every position, center, both guards, both tackle positions. It's very rare you find somebody that can do that and that can play at all those positions at a high level. So, I know he's ready to have a bounce-back year. Was having a tremendous year last year before the injury. And, I'm just here to work with him and be the best right side we can be. But yeah, man, he's a tremendous teammate and a good friend.
Dave, Lane mentioned how Seumalo, who's played all 5 positions on the offensive line, how important is his experience to the offensive line room?
Well, I mean, everything that Stout preaches is versatility. You can only dress so many. There's only going to be 9 or 10 offensive linemen on the 53-man roster. So you need that position versatility, and the fact that Seumalo came to the Eagles with that ability, and we've seen him, in the rookie year, I remember very distinctly against, I guess it was the Ravens, moving out to the tackle position and really holding his own. And so the more you can cross-train these linemen, the better you're going to be as an offensive line, and that's kind of the idea here. Look, Jason Kelce is a center I'm sure that if he had to, he could be forced to play a guard position. That's not going to happen. But you bring in Cam Jurgens, and everybody goes, "Oh, Cam Jurgens is going to be a center." Well, you've got to give him reps at the guard position too. So Isaac is kind of the role model for versatility and what you want in that role, and he's comfortable playing everywhere on the offensive line. Ella, a valuable guy coming back from a tough injury. I know he's excited to be on the football field, and if the Eagles can get Isaac Seumalo at full strength and playing at his very best, this offensive line will be, Ross Tucker, who we'll hear on the preseason broadcast on Friday night, has rated, and we all respect Ross, he's rated the Eagles offensive line as the best in the National Football League. I think, again, a lot of that depends on health, obviously, and the play of Seumalo, should he be the right guard.
I think Eagles fans forget what they have in Isaac Seumalo since we didn't see much of him last season. So the fact that he's out there, he's feeling good. Lane Johnson spoke even further from just that little clip we saw earlier about how valuable he is to this offensive line. I think they have a good thing going on the right side from what we've seen through camp. But Isaac himself, he spoke about his confidence that he tries to bring to the offensive line room. Let's take a look.
Trust me, every rep I take with Fletch, because he's more on my side than anything, I treat it, like it's 3rd and long in the Super Bowl, you know what I mean? Like, and I want to win, you know what I mean? I think about this all the time, like the confidence that, I think you see in a lot of like DBs and receivers, I try to bring that to offensive line, and I learned a lot of that from like Brandon Brooks and JP. Like, you got to embrace those like 2-minute, 3rd down. Like that's it for guards and tackles and centers when you're one-on-one. I try to take, me and Lane especially, we try to take a lot of pride in that it's not me, it's not me having to face this guy. He got to face me every play, you know what I'm saying? So it's been awesome, man. I love, going up against great players, and, you get to test it every day. That's the best thing. So I really appreciate it.
We're taking a look at your right tackle, Lane Johnson. He was very confident in how he's feeling going into year 10. Let's see what he had to say.
I can say now I'm definitely a lot bigger and stronger than what I was during the Super Bowl year. I feel like my best football is coming. I feel like this age, next 2 years, be prime. But yeah, it's just different. Whatever I may have lost in speed, I feel like I made up in power, as I've gotten older. But really, I feel good, much better than what I did last year.
Dave, it's refreshing to hear these veteran guys be so confident in how they're feeling. As we know, football, there's a lot of wear and tear on the body. But these guys have talked a lot about in the past few weeks about the way that they take care of themselves and nourish their bodies, and they're ready to go. As we know, Lane Johnson posted a lot of pictures of his workouts on social media in the offseason. He looks ready to take on some defensive linemen in the NFL this year. But another guy looking and feeling good is defensive end Brandon Graham. Dave, what does his return bring to both this defense and this football team as a whole?
I just watched Ella. I watched he and the DNs work on their turn and their bend at the point, and the explosiveness is there with Brandon. He looks really good so far. Obviously the regular season will be the tell, but the energy that Brandon brings, the confidence, the leadership, the production, all-time Eagles great. He worked so hard to come back from the Achilles injury, and I found it really interesting that he said that the Achilles was actually easier for him to come back from than the knee injury that he had way back when. So, if you can get Brandon Graham to come back and be part of that rotation, because they're all going to rotate. He's been starting. He's been taking reps with the twos. It's just, that's the way it is. You just do what the coaches tell you to. It doesn't matter who the starter is going to be. If you can get Brandon Graham back, boy, what a boon to this defensive line. 29th in the league in quarterback sacks last year. It's an area the Eagles wanted to improve. They go out and get Hassan Reddick. They get Brandon Graham healthy. They've got some young players developing, and he looks great. And everybody's just glad to see him in the building on a daily basis, on the practice field every day. Hasn't taken a day off. Great energy. And Fran, I mean, when I see BG, I see the same BG. I see the same burst. I see the same power when he finishes. I just feel like he's, to this point, and again, I'm couching it because I haven't seen him in the regular season yet. It's a different experience, but to this point, he looks like Brandon Graham.
It's just a veteran coming off the injury, but to your point, Dave, he looks like Brandon Graham. I mean, in one-on-ones, he's been dominant. In team periods, he's sniffing out screens. He's making plays in the run game. He's impacting in the backfield. He's lining up on the edge. He's lining up inside. So he really figures to be a key part of this defensive line here in 2022. No reason for us at this point here in early August to think that he won't be.
Well, here's what BG had to say on making his return this year.
Man, I'm going to just take it all in. I'm going to just enjoy just that moment of just like, man, coming out that tunnel and just hearing the crowd and just being back to normal, some type of normal, because we got that monkeypox going around right now. But I just feel good because, man, we back. I appreciate this even more because when it get taken away from you, you really put a lot of stuff in perspective and let you know that nothing is guaranteed and you just got to appreciate it when it's here. So that's what I'm doing right now.
As this warm-up period comes to an end, Dave Spadaro, what do you got for us as the Eagles prepare for the Jets on Friday and then they head to Cleveland?
Yeah, really excited to see how the Eagles play this preseason opener. And we will have the Eagles Insider podcast for you post-game on Friday night, Saturday morning, so make sure you're with us. Eagles opening the preseason. Cannot wait to see it go.
And you can check out everything Fran Duffy has cooking up for you as well on PhiladelphiaEagles.com, the mobile app, and all social platforms. That'll do it for us for the third episode of Inside Training Camp presented by Independence Blue Cross. Be sure to join us for the fourth and final episode on Sunday, August 14th at 10 a.m. We'll have you covered. The Eagles getting ready for the Jets and then on to Cleveland. I'm Ella DiGiovanni for Dave Spadaro and Fran Duffy. Go Birds.